Possibly the most anticipated and hyped series of the second round. Milwaukee and Boston will also be the first tip-off at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Let's check in with the Celtics.
Defending champs, good team, not going to beat themselves. They're going to come out and play hard. So we got to have the same awareness and the same focus going into the game. We can't let up.
You got to guard Giannis quite a bit during the season. Can you describe that?
He's a phenomenal competitor. One of those guys who's going to seek out contact and not shy away from it, which is where you kind of give him the respect because as a star player in the league, he doesn't flop. He's not a big-time, play the refs guy. He's going to compete with you one way or the other. It's super exciting to play against him because he takes every single game just as serious as it was last, and that's something that you are excited to play against every single night.
It happened. We see it. It's part of the game. That was their choice. They decided to do that. That's on them. We're not worried about anybody else but ourselves. So we can care less what anybody else does. They're the defending champs, so they have every right to do whatever they please. And if that means that they thought that by doing that, they didn't need home court against us or they weren't too worried about us, that's fine. We'll go out and we will play our game and we'll let our game do the talking and see where it leads.
Well, Giannis and Tatum both played at an MVP level in the first round. For Jason Tatum, I'm looking at that assist number. He was averaging 3 assists on the season back in January, so obviously he's up that count in his game. So the question for you, which team is more equipped at guarding the other team's superstar?
I think Boston is more equipped, due to the fact they got the best defensive player in the game on their team and Smart, but you got Brown, you got Tatum, you even got Harford, and probably one of the best shot blockers in the game right here, and Robert. They are very equipped defensively to guard anybody in this series because he just came from guarding Durant, a long, lanky guy. I know Giannis is a different monster, but they kind of got a little taste of it, so they're a little bit prepared for this.
What's crazy is when you said that they have the best defensive player. I know Marcus Smart's Defensive Player of the Year. For a second, I thought you were talking about Robert Williams. That's how good they are defensively. For the Bucks, most important player not named Giannis or Drew Holiday with Chris Middleton out.
I think it's going to be Portis. Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis is going to have to be big. You think about it in the playoffs last year. The fans were chanting his name. He became like a little folklore in Milwaukee because Bobby played great defense. He has a toughness. And when you get in the playoffs, you need some type of toughness. And he's out there guarding people, putting his nose into place. We like to say mucking things up, and that's the type of guy he is in the playoffs.
So for Giannis, we saw the monster numbers against the Bulls. Can he lead this team to the Eastern Conference Finals again without Chris Middleton because he's reportedly out?
He's going to have to. If you look at the way Giannis plays, I say this all the time, but he is the hardest playing guy in the NBA. He doesn't take any plays off. His body is incredible. He's built for this. He can do so many things, and he's improving his free throws. He's improving his three-point shot. So in order to stop him, you got to throw 3 guys in him, and that's going to be up to guys like Drew, Grayson Allen. They got to knock down those open shots.
Most important player not named Tatum or Brown on the Celtics?
Smart, Robert, the whole team, because they're going to need that versus Giannis, because Giannis, when he's going downhill, he's in attack mode. So you got to get that line of defense. You got to get that wall built. So I think for Boston to win this series, every player on this team has to be engaged. And when we talk about rotating defensive, they're going to have to rotate their butts off because they got all these guys that Giannis knows how to find and shoot spot-up threes, and they got to defend in order to win this series.
Quickly, your prediction. Who wins this series? How many games?
Man, don't do that to me, man. Don't do this one. This is a hard one. From playing for the Lakers, I can't say Boston. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee in 7.
All right, let's see who's going to be the big shot Bob in Game 7 between the Celtics and the Bucks. Can't wait for that. CP3 pitched a perfect game. 14 for 14 from the field. Who says he's too old? Not anybody on the Pelicans, I'll tell you that much. Star power, Luka the Don, Devin Booker, CP3, DeAndre Ayton, Suns, Mavs, round 2. Oh yeah, the head coach, Jason Kidd, wasn't a bad point guard himself. Here he is on point guard in this series, Chris Paul.
He's perfected the point guard position. He knows how to move the pieces to get that advantage. And so when you talk about IQ, it's off the charts. And then his competitiveness is off the charts, and his will is off the charts. So all of the things are off the charts. You just got to make it tough on him.
When I bring up defending Luka, what's the first challenge that comes to mind for you?
I mean, damn near everything. I mean, everything, man. Do everything. He knows where his guys are at on the floor. Get to the rim anytime. Everybody knows his step back three. He's a playmaker, man.
He's in that category now of high-level guys that's seen every defense. But he's got great pace. Once he gets to the lane, he's so strong. He's got that push off, and then he's under control. And those are things you just, quite frankly, you just can't take those away.
Well, Phoenix loves to mount comebacks against the Mavs. Now, in fairness, the first two games, Luka Doncic didn't play the season, but on January 20th, down by 8 to start the fourth, they had a 16-point advantage in the fourth. So what does that tell you about this particular matchup between these two teams?
I think it shows you the maturity of the Suns and their willingness to engage in the situation. Okay, we down. You know what? The fourth quarter is our time. We're going to go out and show you what we can do in the fourth quarter. And also, it's a totally different story now with the Dallas Mavericks. They're a different team. I think they're a better defensive team now than they were then. So it's going to be an interesting matchup with this situation.
Again, we're going to bring it up. You have 7 rings, right? You know a thing or two about winning championships. For Luka Doncic, this is his first year out of the first round. But check out this stat about him. Second all-time in points per game in the postseason. So to get that off of his back, now that weight is gone, what do you think about that for Luka going into this round?
I think you have to look at the man in front of you, MJ, and say, I got to get to where he's getting, winning championships. Sometimes guys can get to the playoffs and win games and score a lot of points, but you got to find a way to get the others involved. I know you're a great facilitator, but sometimes you got to will them to win, and sometimes give up shots so that guy can get a rhythm so he'll be better for you down the line.
Speaking of better for you down the line, you bring in Jason Kidd his first year as head coach, Luka Doncic having a great season, but Jalen Brunson emerging. That synergy between head coach and point guard, what did you notice in this postseason for Jalen Brunson under Jason Kidd?
I noticed Jalen's like, oh, Luka, you're in my way. That's what I noticed, right? But this guy has been sitting back and learning from one of the best point guards to ever play this game. You're being coached by him now. And now you're watching Luka and the moves he's able to do. Because if you watch Luka and you're a former basketball player, you're like, how does he get so open? He's not fast, but he's crafty. And I think Brunson has learned how to be crafty like Luka, smart like Jason, and using his speed to put it all together to make him who he is right now.
Speaking of a guy that's at the top of his game, Devin Booker came back in Game 6 with that hamstring injury. That's something you were telling me, hey, he's back, but not out of the water yet. Explain that.
Like sometimes if you watch when he hurt himself, he tried to sprint too hard, and he had no way of getting back defensively. So you got to be engaged and understand your body. Say, okay, do I really exert myself too hard and maybe re-hurt myself, or do I just let a point go? It's almost like a foul situation. Is that third foul in the first half worth me going in and trying to make that mistake or make that block? No. So he needs to be very careful on when he exerts himself and when not to exert himself.
And to close out the New Orleans Pelicans, Chris Paul, 14 for 14 from the field. Just break down how magnificent that was for the point guard.
Man, when you watch Chris play, he has the perfect game of speed, craftiness, and being able to escape. Because he can get into the paint and play amongst the big boys. And next thing you know, you're like, which way did he go? He escapes, and his shot from 3, we don't talk about it because he's playing with Booker, he's playing with Bridges. But the guy has always been a knockdown 3-point shooter. His game in this game was magnificent. He's like, you know what? I got to go. I got to show you. I got to get back to the finals because I've been there. I tasted it. I want it. And I think he has a great opportunity to win it this year.
Well, who wins the series?
Phoenix. Phoenix in 5.
In 5, a gentleman's sweep.
Yes.
That's what you got for this particular series.